Ah, duos. You love them. Whether we're playing Fortnite, practicing consumer-end cybersecurity, or listening to slightly overrated garage rock, we always think 2 is better than 1. This is especially true when it comes to sports. Every so often, 2 players come along who through their combined efforts set the rest of the league ablaze, whether it's Jordan Pippen, Brady Gronk, or Gretzky Messier. These duos captivate hometown crowds for generations while becoming a permanent fixture of their respective sports history. Now, baseball duos look quite a bit different, with it basically being a giant board game with some action in between. Most of what we consider our version of dynamic duos in America's pastime rarely even directly interacted with each other on a gameplay basis. And even then, go ahead and try to name the most valuable double play combo in MLB history. Some notable pairs never even played in the same game until some Days of Our Lives level chicanery happens in the season finale. This is why we prefer our offensive partners, 2 guys who together strike fear into the heart of the opposing pitchers just by the combined edge of their shadows. Here is every pair of teammates since 1919 who have rocked an OPS plus of 160 or above in the same season. As you can see, it's rare. That's because a team being able to employ one man who can hit 60% better than the field is hard enough, let alone employing 2 of them. Let's take a look at the best of the best, and find out what having 2 generational type seasons on the same roster is able to do for some of these teams. But before we dive in, let's listen to what sponsor No More Fielders has to say. Oh man, this logo is going to be so fire. Who are you? I'm you, but sponsored. Oh, cool. Are you gonna tell us about today's sponsor? Yeah, but can I just, sit? Oh, yeah, right. NFL fans, need even more reason to be excited for this upcoming week? Well, I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL, and they're offering a sweet deal. New customers can bet $5 and receive $200 in bonus bets instantly if you sign up using my promo code FIELDERS. That's right, new customers bet $5 and receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. Just use my code FIELDERS. Interested in same-game parlays? You know DraftKings has you covered. You can combine multiple bets in the same game for a chance at an even bigger payout. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, no problem. You can still get on the action with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. How'd I do? Yeah, that was pretty good. Can I just get back in my seat? Oh, yeah. That was weird. We're only covering one Gehrig Ruth season, because this video would literally only be about them if we covered all of their flagship seasons together. And of course, it has to be their infamous 1927. Lou and Babe came up together when baseball was in something of a paradigm shift, one that they almost single-handedly created. Selling out singles for power numbers started to become in vogue when some hot dog eating maestro at the bat and his equal started mashing taters like they were sympathetic to the country of Ireland. By 1927, the rest of the league started to catch up, so Lou and Babe had no other choice but to take their game to the next level. That season, they were responsible for 4.3% of all runs scored in the league. Just to put that number into perspective, last year, Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve both eclipsed the 160 OPS plus mark. That's them right here. When they did so, they only accounted for 1.2% of the league's total runs scored that season. Now, some of that can be chalked up to volume. Babe and Iron Horse Lou only missed 9 games between them, while Altuve missed 48. But it's crazy to think that 1/3% of the entire league was responsible for almost 5% of the total runs scored that season. They also became the first and only teammates in Major League history to both throw down a 200 or better OPS plus. If a 160 OPS plus is rare like a holographic Venusaur card, a 200 OPS plus is like owning a Bugatti Veyron. Getting two men to do it at the same time while wearing the same uniform is borderline mythical. And that's why I'm always wary talking about pre-integration baseball. So much of it comes across as pure fantasy. Literally half of the player pool was not able to participate in the game at its perceived highest level. It's how you get guys like Les Sweetland, who in 1930 threw 167 innings for the Philadelphia Phillies, the same amount of innings 2021 Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns threw, despite converting every hitter he faced into Jimmy Fox that year. He pitched until the very end of the season because who the hell else are you going to throw in there? But I tend to stray away from totally minimizing Guth's accomplishments by just using the tired, oh well, they were just playing against carpenters. Would Jesus have been a good ball player? Aside from some scattered accounts, we'll never really know how they would have fared against Old Bullet Rogan or Young Satchel Paige. But it kind of didn't matter who they faced during this time. They were just good against everybody, even against the best, or second, third, fourth best pitcher in the league. They still managed to collect 7 extra base hits against him in 54 combined tries. We will never quite see something like this again. In many ways, they set the blueprint for how offense would be measured for years to come, even while torching every possible accomplishment before we as a fan base could gain some perspective to truly appreciate what they were doing years out. The season where everyone hated on Roger Maris because he wasn't Babe Ruth, or even his teammate Mickey Mantle. Just like with Lou and Babe before them, I don't think we'll ever get a combo meal quite like these two gave us back in 1961. Don't know what I'm talking about? Imagine if Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were on the same team in 1998, or if Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge were on the same team. Oh wait. Their 115 combined homers hit this season is still the most all-time for two teammates, almost being reached by Barry Bonds and Rich Aurelia in 2001. And let's just say the division of labor in that relationship wasn't spread as equally. Funnily enough, the Yankees as a team that year actually didn't score the most runs in the league. That would go to the Tigers, who despite hitting 60 fewer long balls, eked out 14 more runs. Norm Cash is the most underrated player of all time. Maris' season would pass the smell test, as he collected his lone MVP, but any way you slice it, Mantle had the better season, and it wasn't particularly close. Let me give you some classic cherry-pick stats, and I promise you, I am not making these up. Roger Maris slugged .620 with runners in scoring position and 2 out. Pretty good if I do say so myself. Mickey Mantle slugged 1,000. Just to put this absurdity into levels that us mortals can comprehend, he was virtually guaranteed to deliver a single every time he stepped into arguably the most crucial spot when it comes to needing a hit that year. Now this isn't how baseball stats work, but 1961 Mantle is pretty much the universal answer for the old hypothetical, who do you want up with the game on the line? In what Baseball Reference would refer to as high leverage situations, Roger Maris had a 1.104 OPS. Pretty good. That is an MVP type stat right there. Mickey Mantle had a 1.429. The difference in their OPS in those situations is the same difference as 2022 Aaron Judge and Alejandro Kirk. Mantle also joined the rare list of players who put up the world-renowned and oft-celebrated 9 WPA season, something I think the writers at the time were so amazed by that they probably assumed their peers were going to put his name first. So they chose Maris in order to wash away all the nasty things they said about him while he was chasing Ruth. I can keep going about the absurdity of Mickey Mantle's season. At this point, I'm starting to really believe he hit a ball 600 feet. Bottom line is Roger Maris had an amazing season on the surface, but Mickey Mantle had one of the best seasons of all time. The result was a duo that had a combined responsibility of the 47% runs scored for one of the most dominant teams to play during the Cold War. This is the most surprising inclusion in this video. Not even from a casual viewer's perspective, but from what even the most diehard fans could expect. Guth came into their 1927 campaign sporting a combined 178 OPS+. Maris Mantle came in with a 146. Clark and Mitchell, 128. Now don't get it twisted, that is a solid number, but nothing that would be expected to predicate one of the most explosive duos in the history of the game. They had what I like to call a truly symbiotic 3-4 punch, with a high on-base 3-hitter with decent power, followed by a decent on-base 4-hitter who in the final hour of the waning 1980s was able to take home the crown for highest isolated slugging heading into the last few seasons since integration, where this number would look abnormal. The consensus of baseball fans as a whole have started to really adopt environment-weighted stats in the last few years. WRC Plus and OPS Plus have integrated in the 2020s baseball vernacular the same way on base and slugging had in the early 2000s. But even then, we've been slow to posthumously celebrate achievements based on this newfound criteria. Kevin Mitchell's 1989 is one of those seasons that has yet to really be triumphed the same way we hoist up McGuire's 1998, Henderson's 1985, or even Maris's 1961. When Roger Maris finished his campaign with 61 bombs, the next 24 in the field combined to hit 818. When K. Mitch certified his 47, the next 24 up hit a total of 670, the same amount that separates Larry Walker's career total from Johnny Damon's. Now, these are carved out stats that I'm most likely misusing to prove a point, but the point is that seasons like 1989 Kevin Mitchell's don't come around as often as you'd think. Yeah, these types of numbers would soon inexplicably blend in the coming years, but we don't celebrate the first Star Wars any less because a slew of imitators would copy the formula for their own gain, or celebrate Howlin' Wolf any differently because, well, maybe that's not a good example. As for Clark, while his season was less eye-popping, I do have this nugget of information. He is the youngest player, post-integration, to finish a season with 100 or more runs scored, 110 or more runs batted in, 5 or more triples, a 400 on base, while hitting less than 25 home runs and stealing less than 15 bases. That's something, right?
Wrong!
Unfortunately, this season would lead to a sweep at the hands of the Oakland Athletics, a franchise who's surprisingly absent from meeting this video's requirements for a dynamic duo. That's because Mixeco traded 160 OPS plus seasons before both failing to reach it in their World Series clinching stretch. Maybe the only sports duo ever to have an entire musical comedy special dedicated entirely to them. Maybe the boys at Lonely Island should have made one about the Mash Brothers across the bay. .7 wins above replacement. That is the number of wins above a replacement player Mookie Betts would have been worth according to Baseball Reference had he played in all 162 of the Red Sox games in 2018. These are all the players who have topped that number since integration. That's right, none of them. Mookie Betts may have arguably had the greatest season of all time. JD Martinez, while not playing his way into the history books, continued on what may have been the best year and a half of baseball from the 2010s. The previous summer, he channeled the spirit of the steroid era in Arizona before parlaying that into a contract to fill in the shoes of the notorious B.I.G. Papi. And in one season, these two arguably put up better numbers in a single year than Manny and Ortiz could ever dream of. Only 49 out of the 127 games they played together were deprived of an extra base hit between the two. Not a base hit, an extra base hit. Mookie Betts had almost double the amount of multi-hit games to times he went hitless this season. He had as many multi-homer games as 3 strikeout games this year. JD Martinez kind of became the benefactor of Mookie's many exploits, but he was no slouch either, being one performance shy of reaching the most 2 RBI games in a single season for the decade. He, by the way, had more multi-RBI games than games where he went hitless. You know, it's fun talking about one player's excellent performance, but 2 really is better. why not look at a season that featured 2 pairs of dynamic duos, something that has only happened once since integration, making this one of the most rare occurrences in Major League Baseball, technically being even more rare than an immaculate inning and a perfect game occurring in the same week. Last time it occurred was 1969, when 3 future Hall of Famers put up some of their best seasons in response to sweeping rule changes that were made in an effort to increase offense after an all-time low in league-wide run production. These changes included shrinking the strike zone and lowering the mound from 15 to 10 inches. Sound familiar? 54 years later, Major League Baseball, in an effort to increase offense as well as pace of play, made sweeping rule changes, and in a beautiful parallel, 4 of our generation's best have simultaneously taken their game up a notch. One of those faces might look very familiar to you. In fact, I just talked about him not even 2 minutes ago. Mookie Betts would be the first player ever to be part of 2 dynamic duos on 2 separate teams. Freddie has a chance to hit the most doubles in a season since 1932. On the Braves side, Matt Olson has probably already broken the Braves' all-time single-season home run record. And Ronald Acuna Jr., while already creating new categories for record-setting paces in the realm of power and speed, could have a chance to become the charter member of the 40-70 club. On August 31st, these 2 teams met up in Los Angeles and made for one of the best viewing experiences I've ever had watching August baseball. Many debates are going to be had about these rule changes and their long-term effects on the game. But the fact is that no product is going to be perfect right out of the box. It's why we continue to innovate. I know the questions of delegitimizing these 4 mostly come towards Ronald and his stolen base records, but I brought up Raul and Stumente's seasons to show that time has a way of sorting out the issues of the day. We don't value those seasons any less because it came a year after major changes were made, because now we have the benefit of hindsight to show that those seasons are just as impressive now as they were then. It's why we continue to watch the game. Every season brings an opportunity to see something that we've never seen before. Maybe next year we see 3 pairs of dynamic duos for the first time ever. Maybe we don't see a single pair until 2050. The first year, we're able to broadcast games to all of those lonely billionaires on Mars. All we can do now is enjoy the moment and be glad that we're lucky enough to witness greatness. Thank you. Also, comment below, who do you think is going to win the NL MVP, Mookie or Ronnie? Subscribe to. Bye.